Hi, I'm Karen.
And I'm Renee, and welcome to thebakingshow.com. Today, Karen has a recipe she's going to show us. It's a cookie recipe, am I right?
Yes, exactly. This is our family Christmas cookie, so it's very easy, and that's why we use it every year. Renee, you're the professional baker, but I got to show you this recipe. It is awesome. Okay, so I'll go through the ingredients. We have 4 cups of flour, a cup of sugar, a teaspoon of baking powder, a teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, a cup of butter, 2 eggs, a teaspoon of vanilla, and a 1/3 cup of milk. So Renee, there's a tip to this recipe that is wonderful. What you do is you combine all of the dry ingredients. I'll hand these to you.
Okay,
and
just put them right in.
Put all the dry ingredients in. And then what we're going to do is add the butter, and we're going to whisk it like you would for a pie crust. So yes, when you put the butter into a pie crust, you know you like to get it nice and flaky.
Right.
So you use cold butter, and you get it to the texture of sand or small crumbles.
Right.
So that's how this Christmas cookie starts. Okay, that looks good.
All right, so stop it now?
Yes, let's go ahead and stop it. And I'll show you what the texture looks like. So, you can describe it as looking like sand or cornmeal, but you want that
grainy,
incorporated texture. The butter is all nicely incorporated into that flour now.
It's grainy.
Okay. Okay, so we've switched paddles. Now we have the regular mixer paddle, and we're going to add our liquid ingredients. So we add the eggs first. And a lot of recipes call for the eggs to be beaten, but now that we have modern day mixers, really don't need to do that. It's going to incorporate well all by itself.
Oh yeah.
So the eggs, the vanilla, and now the milk. And then just mix that up until it creates a nice cookie dough.
So
it is a very thick dough. So it's done. So essentially what you want is for it to stay nice and stiff like this, because you don't have to refrigerate this dough.
Oh, so you don't, usually when I make rollout cookies, you have to put it in to let it set up.
But not these. That is the beauty of this recipe.
I'm liking this.
So yeah, we'll bring it out, put it on a floured surface, and cut out some cookie shapes.
Okay.
So I just started it. I brought it out of the bowl, and I just began my circle. But I call these quick, thick Christmas cookies because that's really what you want, is to have a very, very thick dough, about 1/4 of an inch thick. So much thicker than most sugar cookie recipes.
Yeah, usually they're like an 1/8.
Exactly, yeah. So, but we think that's the beauty of this. It's almost like a meal in a cookie by the time you get this done. So we'll cut out some shapes here, and then we'll pop it straight in the oven. So
do you
very, very quick.
Grease the cookie sheets, put them on parchment? What do you do?
There's so much butter in this, you do not need to grease the cookie sheet. But of course, I love the silicone pads, so I always use those whenever I can.
Okay, so you want
So
me
I
to
think
get
we're just about thick enough. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so we've got this rolled out. Let's go ahead and start cutting some shapes out of the dough and getting it on our cookie sheet. You can see very, very thick cookies here.
Oh, okay, so you don't dip your cookie cutters in the flour?
No, I don't usually.
Okay, so this cuts really nice.
Yeah, it just cuts into very distinct shapes because of that thick dough.
I like the thickness of this.
Yeah, me too.
Because a lot of sugar cookies are so thin, they have a tendency to, the ends burn in the oven.
Yes, they get very fragile.
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah. So we'll cut out a few more of these, and then let's put them in the oven.
Okay, so we have the oven heating up to 375, and about how long?
You have to watch them, so I would start at 8 minutes.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll take up to 10 minutes or so. And the way that I tell if they're done is I look for a dry top. You can see that the butter has started to dry when they're done. Okay, so 8 minutes later, the cookies are done and slightly browned on the edges. You don't have to get them brown if you don't like that. You can just make sure that the tops are dry and that the cookie is baked all the way through. So the next step is to make the buttercream frosting to put on top. So
this is a cookie.
That is a big cookie. And more coming out.
More coming out, yeah. I'll check those. You start popping.
Okay. So 3 cups of confectioner's sugar, a stick of melted butter, 2 tablespoons of cream, and a teaspoon of vanilla go into the buttercream. And then you can see we've got various other toppings that we're going to put on the cookies. So we just put all the ingredients in, and be careful how you breathe. Lots of powdered sugar. Okay. So there's the butter.
Okay.
Still nice and warm. And here's the cream. And then we'll add the vanilla. Oops, and the vanilla does add a little bit of coloring, makes it look a little bit darker. You can use almond flavoring, whatever you like.
To put in, some people like lemon.
Right.
Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, and there is a clear vanilla you can buy. We just don't have that. All right, so let's mix this up. Now, how thick is the consistency?
You want to be able to spread it very easy without breaking the cookie. So then we'll continue to add liquid till we get it to a very nice thin consistency. And it will dry once you get it on the cookie. So the key will be ice the cookie, get the sprinkles on, and then move on.
Okay.
So the icing is just a little bit too thick. We're going to add just a little bit of water, and you have to be careful how much you add here because that confectioner sugar absorbs the liquid very fast. So Renee, that looks like a great consistency. We'll go ahead and pour it here into the bowl. And you know, another tip that I do is put in a little bit of salt. I think the salt balances the sweet very nicely.
Oh, right.
Definitely don't have to add it. It's just a little tip for preference and taste.
So if you do add it, it's a pinch or?
Just a pinch. Don't need much at all.
Okay, so I can put that pinch of salt in.
Absolutely. And then we'll stir it up a little bit. So now's the fun part. We get to ice all these, yes.
Okay, now I am not very artistic, you should say.
You don't have to be at all. We've got all these sprinkles. You can do whatever you want. So these circles can look like ornaments that we can put on the tree.
I can bake, but decorating,
no worries at all. Simple, really. You just look at, you put the little sugar on top, and really you don't need to do more than that.
Oh,
You'll have a nice Christmas cookie. One thing I didn't mention is that you can add food coloring to this icing. And so when we decorate with kids, they can have pink, red, yellow, whatever color they want based on the food coloring that you put in it. And you can also buy these little tubes in the store so that if you want to do a little bit of decorating without a lot of effort, you just use these tubes.
Oh, so that's like gel frosting.
Absolutely. One more tip that I didn't mention is I love red hots on this icing.
Really?
Yes. So for Santa's cap or whatever you want to do for decorating, you just use the red hots as decoration, and as they soften into the icing, that cinnamon tastes so good.
That's a great idea.
So yeah. So there you go, finished product. And you can decorate them in any style you like, as fancy or as plain as you like it to.
I think we're going to let the cookie taster give us his opinion. Come here, Jess. Come here. Come on.
The true test of
All right,
cookie.
Give us your opinion.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, wait!
He's taking off his treasure.
All right, yeah, take our word for it. He loves it.